When I think about what a future Ukraine would look like, one major thing comes to mind. It's obviously a victorious Ukraine. Now the question is, how would a victorious Ukraine look like? I think there are three components to that. The first is, of course, the deoccupation of the occupied land, to return Ukraine to pre-2014 borders. That is the first step and the primary goal of a victorious Ukraine. The second step is holding Russia fully legally accountable for the crimes of war and genocide. And that can be while we look at new tribunals or when we employ existing mechanisms that already exist. That's a different debate and a separate debate. But the bottom line is that we need to hold Russia accountable in court. And the third option that is essential to a victorious Ukraine is a very comprehensive reconstruction plan, looking at infrastructure, looking at services, looking at society, and at the same time making sure that it's both addressing short-term things, long-term vision, but at the same time that both the US, Europe, and the international community work together with Ukraine to identify what are these kind of priorities for reconstruction to really make it successful, because reconstruction can go different ways. So in order for Ukraine to be victorious, these three components are essential. Of course, as Ukrainian American, I want to comment also on the US role, which is essential. US has provided unprecedented amount of aid to Ukraine, and that, is going to continue. I know that there have been concerns that the upcoming elections that are happening on November 8th, these are the midterm elections, may pose some risk to the aid that is being given to Ukraine. Those are very fair concerns, as some potential candidates and current members on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, have expressed concern about aiding Ukraine a little too much. Those are select individuals. This is not the majority. And so long-term, we don't know how that will develop, but short-term, there's no threat. And of course, the Biden administration is very committed. So US support is essential. Long-term commitment to Ukraine's defense and security, long-term commitment to making sure that Ukraine is on track with reforms, all of that is a package deal. And so this is the kind of future that I see for Ukraine. Article 5, most people have heard about it in the news increasingly since February 24th, since Russia's full-scale invasion, which was agreed by NATO member states in 1949, calls for NATO member states to come to the support and aid of if one member state is being attacked. Now, attack is not very specific. There's no exactly direction whether that attack is a war that happens on the ground or whether it's a different type of attack. Obviously, in 1949, we didn't have certain threats that exist now. So that Article 5 also doesn't say exactly how a member state should support the attacked member state, whether that means deploying military force, whether that means deploying some other type of aid. So essentially, I think there's also a misconception about Article 5. We tend to think that it's, when one state is attacked, everybody full force mobilizes and goes in support of that attacked state. Things are different in 2022. We have things like cyber warfare, different aspects of hybrid warfare. Does that constitute an attack? That's a question. That's a question that most people can answer, because it will depend on the situation. Recently, Ukrainians shut down a Russian missile that was flying over Moldova, and it fell on the land of Moldova. Obviously, Moldova is not a member state, so Article 5 does not apply in any case. But let's say that would have been Romania, for example. Would that entail some type of response from NATO? That's a very ambiguous question. We are in uncharted territories. Some things are not, it also has to do with intention, whether something was intentional or not. That is not outlined in the original Article 5. So this ambiguity creates many misconceptions, which we need to address moving forward.